Ugh. That's all I can say to that one. Leicester have just lost 4-1. Ugh. Oh my God. Hello, everybody. We're supposed to be doing a lovely commentary, and it's just a bit all rubbish. We've got Tom, Diego, and Alex with us. Alex, quick summary, mate. How do you think it went?
Amarty to Siensu, Siensu to Amarty, Amarty back to Siensu, and then Siensu back to Amarty. West Ham
Antonio
game
in the back
over.
of the net.
There you go. Cole's notes.
It was a weird one. Diego, initial thoughts as well, mate. Where did you even start with that one? I guess we go to the beginning, but what are your initial thoughts of the game?
Well, I thought to the beginning, I don't think it was too bad. I think as for the beginning, we just couldn't break them down. Like when we try to play outside from the back, we couldn't find anywhere to pass the ball. So we would just pass from sideways, from side to side, and that was pretty much like the first 10, 15 minutes is what we did. And then eventually, obviously, when we actually decided to do something, we'd end up losing the ball, and then from there, then West Ham kind of took on what they needed to do and kind of used their chances that they got, and they eventually did score with Fornals.
I mean, I think you're right, and I think Tom, we do have to give credit to West Ham because they set the traps, and Leicester City just walked straight into them and just crap, and then there's just caught us hook, line, and sinker all the way through, pretty much, wasn't it?
It was like I think, the first I remember thinking after about 15, 20 minutes, this is kind of a tight game. Like, this could go either way. Like, not too much is happening. But once they started to kind of take in control of that midfield and, they really started bossing us. And some of the mistakes, I think, there were just too many subpar performances, across the pitch. And even before, obviously we can point to Perez's red card and that didn't help at all. But even before then, when it was 11v11, the writing was on the wall, right? And even our best players, who normally you can kind of rely on giving you a solid performance, like Yuri and Didi in the middle, they were just overrun, and I think we saw the consequences.
Yeah, no, you're right, and that's the thing, Alex. I think today, with certain players just didn't turn up, but I think again, the credit to West Ham, they set, again, as I was saying before, they just set the traps, and we knew exactly. Then they go, right, we know how we're going to play. And it's, I don't know, I don't watch much boxing, but it's like it comes in with a feint, and then right, okay, I'm going to go bang bang, and then they go, okay, I'm not going to learn my lesson and go for it again. It just felt like the same thing over and over and over again. And and the worst thing is, mate, it could have been more in the first half, and especially in the second half. We could have been, if Dawson can get his head on straight like Traore, we're looking at genuinely about 7-8 goals down, which is really scary.
Yeah, and I think what you said perfectly, Neil, was we fell right into West Ham's trap. I don't know what happens with Leicester, but anytime we play them, it just seems to happen. The same thing happens every single time. And I was not confident at all going into this match, especially with Vestergaard being out to injury. That was just like the cherry on top of the whatever you want, a cupcake or whatever. But yeah, West Ham's performance was, A+. They really came into this and they were ready and they were hungry, whereas Leicester just kind of came into this match lost, disorganized, deflating, unmotivated, just downright bad. I think that's just plain to see. And normally those top players Yuri and Ndidi and Barnes and all these players, everyone was just flat. This performance was flat. Ultimately, you just got to look at this type of performance and go, okay, it's the second game of the season. There's plenty more. Let's just keep going and let's just move forward and forget about this game because,
it really wasn't good at points, Diego. I mean, today, and it was. I think even in the final third, even we got the ball, carried it forward, and in the first half it was all through Barnes. Barnes got the ball, drove forward, and then their defense was a wall, and they just blocked everything out of that. But we didn't do anything in the final third, really, apart from the goal, and even that was kind of a deflection then going in. So it is what it is.
Yeah, 100%. We did have a couple, like you said, a couple good chances. I also remember Yori. He played a good through ball to Matters, and that didn't get to anything. Just honestly, we did try to look for options in the final third in that first half for sure. In the second half, it was non-existent basically because we didn't have the ball basically the whole entire half. But I think we did have a couple chances that could have resulted into something, but great defense just kind of just shut us down completely, even with those chances that could have actually looked pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't really anything. Even in the first half, I think, Tom, as you were saying, it's pretty much you going into it 20 minutes. We're like, okay, we're in this game. We're not playing brilliantly, but we better go on to that next level. And we just didn't really. But was there anybody that I think Daniel Amartey deserves a shout? Oh my God, what's happened there? Oh my, okay, that's happened. So I've got a green screen now. I don't know what happened on your end, but that just decided to fail. Yeah, Tom. So anyway, taking it with Daniel Amartey, I think he did well in defensively. He gave the ball away a few times, but it's kind of a similar performance to the game against as a green screen is really throwing me off. The game against the previous game against Wolves, and yeah, he did well, but that's not saying much because everybody else was pretty much below 4 out of 10 or below because it was not good.
No, I think it would be unfair to kind of pick Amartey out as a poor performer today. I think, like Alex said, when I saw the news this afternoon that Vestergaard got injured, I was like, oh my God, because it's back to square one, isn't it? Our only defender on the bench was Castagna, which that just shows the situation that we're in. But I think without wanting to sound too kind of like negative about it, and I agree, it's one of those games that we kind of have to write off. I think Rodgers did kind of get it wrong today. Like, we discussed before the game some of the options that we could do. I saw that, Neil, you put out your kind of lineup before, and you had Samari in midfield to kind of toughen it up in there. And I also think, we've got the option of playing two up front now, whether it's Kelechi or Daka to come in. And like, when sometimes with Rodgers, when you can see that things aren't quite going right, he can frustrate me in that he can take too long to change it. And today, I think like the two things that sum that up is that when Daka came on, we scored a goal out of nowhere. I know he wasn't directly involved, but just having an extra man up there, like, caused that goal to happen, essentially. And then the other thing that summed it up was Kelechi and Samare, who I'd called to come on 10 minutes earlier, like those exact changes 10 minutes earlier. They were getting ready to come onto the pitch when Antonio made it 3-1, and it was too little too late for me. And that like, even though we were down to 10 men and it was always going to be tough against West Ham, that did kind of frustrate me today.
Yeah, and it was two quick successive goals at the same time. However, Alex, just I mean, there was going to be a point, but I've just forgot. I think the reason what I wanted to say is that we didn't move the ball quick enough at times. At times, it was like you could see the West Ham plan, and it was like, right, here's a plan. We're going to set it up. We're going to do this. And then when we got the ball, as you were saying, it just went to the back to Thomas, then to Daniel Amartey, to Thomas, to Soyuncu. It just kept going backwards and forwards. And with a player like Rodgers, he should be able to adapt and realize that this isn't working. We need to change the formation. And yes, as Tom was saying, we did score a goal, but it was too late pretty much. And yes, we were getting back into the game, but then we conceded two. And it's just all a bit of a mess. And Rodgers does need to take this as kind of, there was a couple of things, but I think Rodgers just needs to take this and go, right, this is 3 times we've conceded 3 or more to West Ham. We really need to learn from this, because if we don't change our game, other teams go, that's how you beat Leicester. Let's go and do exactly the same thing.
Yeah, and I can definitely agree with you on that. What Leicester did today was predictable. I like, if you're going into this game and multiple people are guessing the lineup that Leicester's going to throw out, as supporters, chances are West Ham's going to go into this game knowing exactly what's going to happen. And clearly, we watched 90 minutes of West Ham knowing exactly what Leicester was going to do. And I think you're definitely right when it comes to Brendan Rodgers and him needing to adapt on the fly. I know we've praised him in the past. He's really good at adapting most times. Today he fell short of that, and I think that's something that I hope he recognizes, because in these types of situations, when you're that good of a quality manager, these are the games that you need to look back on and realize, you know what? Yeah, I failed here, and this is how I can correct it next time moving forward. So, I think that's one of the big things is that there was a lot of opportunity for, Rodgers and the squad to, really take advantage. But at the end of the day, they just disregarded it entirely. And, that's where we fell short. And that's why we lost, And the fact that we lost 4-1 is incredible, because I could have easily foreseen this going 8-9-1, because we really had no heart from the start of this game.
Yeah, and from set piece, again, we'll get shout out to Crafty Fox again, second ever super chat. So really, really appreciate that, mate. That'll go to help funding whatever's going on with my green screen at the moment, because I've genuinely no idea what happened. Honestly, so thank you for the donation once again. Honestly, it does seem like a shock result. The result shock anyone after the Wolves result. Very similar game in both games. The opposition cancelled out Yuri. We are screwed. Do you kind of agree with that, Diego? Because I think the opposition, I think it is two different games in terms of the games against the opposition, but he's got a point where it's kind of the opposition cancelled out the problem. We didn't really have the next chess piece to really cancel out that next game.
Yeah, I think not really. I think maybe you would probably expect something like this to happen. I thought it was going to be a tight game from the get-go, because we know how we struggled against West Ham recently. So yeah, I think just we couldn't really get too much going. Just the defensive end was just there, just trying to cross it off the halfway line. Just there wasn't not that much intent the whole entire match, just to kind of bring in a little bit of a different offensive groove. And I just feel like in another type of feeling or during another time of the year, if we had this type of fixture, maybe we wouldn't have struggled as badly. But like a lot of people have been saying, I think to know now that we're having these types of problems early on during the season might be a good thing, because we don't want this to happen later on during the season, when we might be fighting for Europa League or even top four. So I think for this to happen right now, maybe that's a good thing for us.
Yeah, but again, that's a good way of thinking about it. However, this is a problem that I think early on the season as well, I agree with you, that people will learn from and go, okay, this is the way we can set up. And kind of on the same point as Diego was saying, and I think the issue is we've seen before, like the Wolves games, Tom, that we can play in multiple ways, and it just really frustrates me that in this kind of situation we haven't gone and done that, because we've seen them do it before. We've seen Rodgers go and change formations, change tactics, and again, you can blame it on the lack of players, but you look at the bench today and you look at the play. I'll try and get it up at the moment. Some of the players that we had on the bench, and bearing in mind they didn't have a stronger bench. I mean, we've got Albrighton, Ward, Iheanacho, Chowdhury, Dewsbury Hall, Pratt, Castagna, Daka, Samare. I mean, you've got options. You can't blame that on certain players are injured. We have got options to change up the game, as you were saying. Samore is a perfect example to beef up that midfield, because Ndidi was getting it nicked, Tillemans was getting it nicked, and we saw Samore can really just hold up the ball, and that would have worked wonders, because just the ability to hold up the ball would have worked fantastically to just let people get back into position for at least a second.
Yeah, I think one thing that we're kind of going to have to suss out is like we've talked about a lot. We've never had such strength in depth, and during the Premier League season, we had the same 11 out every single week. It was like and there was a reason for that, is because they were by far our strongest 11. Now we're not in that situation anymore, right? And I think we really we didn't bring in players like Samara and Daka just to sit on the bench and play in the Europa League. Surely, we need we have all these options, right? And I think. I'm not saying rip up the start lineup, but we can mix it up. We don't have to play the same way, the same 11 every week. And one thing I suppose from today is, okay, he didn't have very many defenders to choose from. So maybe going 3 at the back, he didn't feel like he had enough kind of to do that. But yeah, for me, sometimes when we've got 2 up front, we just have a lot more threat. And we saw that with Kelechi in the team last season. And sometimes, like the people have mentioned, if you nullify Yuri, you nullify Maddison in that system, then all of a sudden we don't have a lot of kind of attacking threat. So I'd like to see us mix things up more and bring these players into the team, like Dewsbury Hall as well. I think he's ready to go. So yeah, hopefully, like over the next few weeks, we can kind of see some of our different options like in play.
Yeah, we will have to, Alex, because again, as I was saying, the bench is super, super strong. But what would you have made a substitution early? Because we were talking about this in the group chat as well. What substitution could you have made? Because again, Samora is a brilliant example. Dewsbury Hall is another example where, again, you look at players like Maddison, and he was bullied pretty much the entire match. It's something we predicted on the preview as well, and it just came to fruition.
Well, to be brutally honest, I wouldn't have started James Maddison. I don't think he's deserved the right to start. He is, in my opinion, the weakest player in our starting 11, and that's saying something, because I know some would argue that maybe Perez would be that. But Maddison, to me, he doesn't look motivated. He doesn't look driven. He falls over because a gust of wind just casually, hits his kit. Like, there's nothing to him. I hate to say that, he falls down at any movement. And, we have these players like, Dewsbury Hall, we have Samari, we have all these players that are wanting to play and are willing to challenge. And to me, when it comes to Maddison, he's there, but he's not doing anything. I think if you switch up that formation, you switch up your starting 11 and you start saying to these players, yeah, you played every game last season when you were fit. But you know what? We have a lot more hungrier players than you. And if you want your spot we need to see that you're wanting this spot. So I would have taken Maddison off at halftime, but if I was the manager, I wouldn't have started him. Now, if you look at the center back and, the back line, you're kind of handcuffed there to begin with because you're lacking in depth right now, with Bertrand being out, due to, being sick. And then you have, Vestergaard, Evans, and Fofana. And you have Justin being injured. You're really, really light there. But
I think this is the point. To kind of injuries weren't really the issue.
No,
the bench there was that. So
yeah.
Again, Jimmy says tactics of midfield is exactly what the issue was.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think now that we have the opportunity and the players that are on the bench, I think these are the players that need to get the opportunity to actually play and not come on 75 minutes into the game. That, they deserve the chance to start and really try to, showcase what they have, because there's a lot more hungrier players on this team now than there were last season.
Yeah, and you want somebody, I think, Diego, somebody we haven't mentioned, I think Mark Albrighton could do a fantastic job. He's relatively physical. He puts in a solid 7 out of 10 performance. However, he's the kind of player you bring on and go, right, let's just try and see it. And you're going to get hard work out of him. He's going to track back, take the runners. And I think he's the kind of player in this game that we would have needed. And again, it is a bit naive in Brendan Rodgers and for that as well.
Yeah, Albrighton probably would have helped us a lot in this match. I think great example was the last game we actually played against West Ham. When he got subbed on, he changed on the game, and we almost came back in that match. But I think, like everyone said, I think with the availability on the bench and the depth that we have now, you have to change it up. You probably have to start different players in the midfield. I think it would have been smart to, like you said, like a 4-3-3, and probably play Samare, and Didi and Yori. I think that would have been a really good choice. Or you could have even gone with two up top, and kind of play maybe something like a diamond formation. Maybe would have been a good idea. There were really different options that you could have used in this match, instead of maybe kind of just sticking to what we always know. So I think, like everyone else is saying, I think you have to know when to change things up. And I think obviously knowing how difficult it was for us even in the game against Wolves to create in the final third, I think today we should have probably changed the formation to something different to give them a different look.
Yeah, because it was pretty much the same starting lineup, Tom. And I don't know how you felt going into that, because I think we talked about that a little bit with Perez in that position. I think it was just a time to talk about it before the comments explode. I've seen his name thrown around so many times. It wasn't too bad, and I know the comments are going to slate me for that. I know that's going to be the case. However, that challenge is unacceptable. It really is. And this is the kind of thing VAR is actually, again, in real time, I'm like, it's not that bad. He's probably just trod on his foot. Then looked at it again in slow motion. I was like, if he stays on the pitch, I put 39 minutes. Perez is lucky to be on the pitch, and then I put next comment deserves the red. So that's kind of how I saw it.
Oh yeah, mate. As soon as the slow motion replay came up, you knew what was going to happen. There was no doubt about it. And in fact, every time you saw it, it got worse, right? And I've seen a lot of. There is some interesting debate in the comments, but I've seen a lot. Do you know what? My first thought was the same as a lot of I've seen in the comments, which is at least he won't play for 3 games now. And I don't want to be too harsh. I really don't but how long?
He's not done himself any favors, for sure.
No, he let the team down. He let the team down at the end of the day. And actually, the intelligent thing to do would have just been to go down because he probably would have won a free kick instead of stumbling into that situation he got into. But I think with Perez, it's like, how many chances are we giving him at this point? He's been here for so long now, and it's just not working. And like you said at Albrighton, I think Albrighton's so reliable, right? And you know what you're going to get. And he may not, score a lot of goals or have the pace to do people, but he will create chances by putting balls into the box. And I'm looking forward to just seeing how, at least not in a harsh way, but now that Perez isn't available for 3 games, to see what that does, because now that forces a change, right? And Rodgers, I wonder what he's going to do now.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. Even Ant saying Perez let everyone down today, and if you ask him last season, he was a massive Perez fan. As probably Alex knows, especially massive Perez fan. But again, one thing that I didn't agree with is when you have a tackle like that, and Alex, just stop arguing, get off the pitch. It's not, you've made the decision, it's not going to change. You've got the red, just move on. Why are you still on the pitch? Do you know what I mean? Even if it's an opposition player, I'm saying the same thing. Do you know what I mean? It's like you've made the tackle, it's been put up on the display. You can watch it back in slow motion as well as the referees made the decision. So I don't see the point in arguing because it's unnecessary in my opinion.
Yeah, once the decision's made, they went to VAR, the card's been shown, the replay's on the screen, the fans are booing, just get off the field. You're not going to win the battle. Stop complaining, stop arguing. It's what's done is done. And I think that's the most frustrating thing is when things like that happen. But, just like what Tom said, I think the hardest thing when it comes to Perez and to defend him really is, how many times have we given him the benefit of the doubt? It's been, I think I would lose fingers counting the amount of times. And especially, if he was a player that we bought for 10 million pounds or whatnot, I wouldn't be making this big of a complaint. But we spent 30 million pounds on him, 30 million. And when you look at the players that we've picked up in the past two summer transfer windows for less than 30 million, you really look at this play. You look at Perez and you go, what are you bringing to the table? And if I'm being brutally honest, the answer is absolutely nothing. And that could be extremely harsh, but it's the truth. I'm not going to grill him. I think that's just my opinion on him. And, the situation that unfolded tonight was, it is what it is. He got the red. But, I'm excited to move forward from this because this forces, Rodgers to really look at his lineup and see at his squad and go, okay, who can take over here? We got Albrighton. Yeah, he can slot in. Who's to say that we're looking for a winger still? Because there has been chatter about that, and we need one. And that's the thing. And I think it just shows you that, especially with Perez. Perez, even during tonight's game when he was still in the game, he was all over the place. He just seemed like he was lost. And I think that's one thing that I've really noticed with his play. Since he's come here. But yeah, just moving forward, I think that's going to be it'll be very interesting to see what Rodgers does. And yes, now he's starting Saturday.
Yeah, exactly. Just shout out to the cyber leader, which is a hell of a name. You'll be fair play. Well done to you guys. No, well done to you, mate. We were woeful. You'll beat Norwich 100%. I'm saying you will. I think we will. We'll reset, but I think for this one, we just got to go, Jesus Christ, lads. We're going to just knock this one on there and get it over and done with. However, you guys should have gone for Red Robber. We were saying it on this show. We were saying it last summer. We really wish we did. But it is what it is. We've not managed to get it. And Bowen. It was another one that West Ham had managed to pick up. We got Fofana. So swings and roundabouts, But yeah, Diego kind of on that. When you're looking at the Tillerman's goal, we managed to get a goal in, but then the 3-1 and the 4-1. I mean, and you just got to take your hat off to Antonio and go, we were terrible defending, but you played better than Lukaku. I mean, you were unbelievable.
Yeah, he was really good. Especially also a shout out Declan Rice too in that build up play. He did amazing, just following through, bringing the cross, and then Antonio would just completely bully out Soyuncu. Soyuncu was kind of slow to reaction, and he started it on the right hand corner. It was really poor until we just let Kufal just completely run down that right hand side, just own it basically. He just went straight every single time, and then that cross, and then flicking it, that flick almost over on Marty, and then finishing it coolly. Like he did amazing. Like honestly, like the first 2 goals we kind of gave away, and they were really poor. But to be honest with you, you can't kind of underestimate what Antonio did, and I think he had a really good match today.
Yeah, I think he had a sensational match, but kind of for the second goal, we were holding on just about, Tom, just about clinging on. If they could do anything better, that we would have been a lot more down. But Soyuncu's back pass, man. I mean, I know he's young, but it's not good enough in my opinion. You look where the goalkeeper is, and Schmeichel is way out of his comfort zone. And yeah, Schmeichel, I mean, he had some fantastic saves. We'll probably get onto him in a bit, but his distribution was not good as well. And then Soyuncu for the second goal, we shouldn't be, as Diego said, we let them have it. It's just too easy. We just basically go, hey, do you want the ball? Here you go. Put it in the back of the net for us. There we go. 2-0 now.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the thing. It's like, I feel like you can just pick out pretty much anyone from today and have a little poke at them. Like, and of course that was like a very, very poor mistake, but I'll give it to Soyuncu. Like, at the end of the day, we haven't got any centre backs for a start, so we're going to need him. And no, he doesn't really do. He plays around at the back in tight situations, and you don't see him give it away that often. Like, so, once in a blue moon, I'll let him have it. But the same, it just kind of summed up how today went for us. Like, just everything that could go wrong seemed to go wrong. And like, I'm not. I was amazed that we were still in the game at 2-1 for even a little bit of time. Like, it was, I said at one point, if we got to get a draw out of this, it'd be an absolute miracle.
It would have been the best draw. It would have been the best, I think, draw since I think a very similar match was Stoke away. Do you remember the year after we won the league and Daniel Amati got a last-minute header? It would have that's what I was thinking. Could we? And then the third goal when it went nope. But yeah, what's your point, Tom? It's a similar thing.
Yeah, like let's be fair. Yeah, we wouldn't have deserved anything from it. But like, I did think as well how. This is another kind of recurring theme and don't get me wrong, I by no means can complain about Rodgers. Like, he's done an amazing job. But another recurring theme is these slow starts and like, or falling behind, conceding the first goal in games, and then you're chasing games. And often we do see a better performance in the second half. But when you're in the Premier League, when you concede first, it's always going to be hard. And like, especially with 10 men, obviously. But in general, I think that's one thing that we really need to do is try and start games quicker and get an early goal if possible.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We would see if we get an early goal. However, I think Tom's perfect in that, Alex. We've said this before. We're chasing games and then we start to play football, and it's not good enough. I mean, we needed to break into that, and I think it could have been a very different game. If we get a goal in the first 15 minutes, we know that West Ham can be a toxic atmosphere. It could just change in an instant. And then they're going after the owners and stuff like that. So, but again, it's not good enough. And also, why do we keep playing why do we keep doing this if we are going to, like, if we're going to kind of play like this? It's not good enough to go to that next level.
No, I agree. And it's funny how Leicester seems to play when they're on their game, nothing can stop them. And that's the one thing I've always noticed with this squad is that, if they walk into this game and they say, we're going to play today, they're up 1 or 2 goals within, 20 minutes, and that's it. Game's over. We've sealed 3 points. But the time that when I don't know why, but we we just don't wake up until about, halftime or 70 minutes into the game, and then we decide to, let's start playing. Those are the games that, there's a lot of question marks surrounding those. And, we talked about this last year, especially at the end of the season. It seemed like a lot of those games were popping up, in the last couple of weeks of the year. And there's concern with that, and especially seeing it this early into the season. And like, I just want to say, this is only game 2. There's plenty of more games to go in this season. But you really do hope that, Rodgers and the coaching staff really start to recognize this early on so they can nip it in the butt right away. Because if we're talking about this now, I don't want to come back to this, with the last game of the season. We're holding on to, the 4th spot by 1 point, needing 3 points to, secure top 4 again. And, coming back, to our post-match, discussion and being like, started playing 70 minutes into the game. Talked about this, the second game of the season, and it happened again. So that's my biggest concern, is that, they really need to nip this in the bud, and they need to figure out how to fix this early on so we don't run into issues later down the line.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. Diego, I think I'll give it to you. One person that we could not epitomise Leicester, but a player that had kind of a good game and a bad game at the same time, Kasper Schmeichel. I mean, he made some great saves that we know he can make time and time again. And then as well, some of his distribution was just, I think everybody, the heads just dropped. And I've been in the ground in that West Ham ground, and when the fans get going, honestly, it's one of the loudest atmospheres I've ever realised. It's annoying how good it is. But Kasper Schmeichel makes some great saves, but also the distribution out from the back was not good at the same time.
Yeah, I think every single time Kasper got the ball, he pretty much opted to just lay it off and pass it off. No through ball. Just it was just like with how the game was going, he couldn't really kind of kick the ball upwards, because if he did, I mean, we'd probably lose the ball and we'd just leave ourselves open for a counter. And in terms of his saves, I mean, what he gives us every single weekend when he plays. He had good saves, but when you're just put into those type of positions, there's so much you can do, especially with the back pass from Cags. He really couldn't do anything in that situation. Just left the goal open, just to score. So like you said, I think he had a decent game at best when he needed to come out, but there was so much he can do if the defense is struggling in itself.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Tom, I think we're gonna leave it here for a little bit. I think that's enough football talk. But what are your final summary of it? What do you think we should do from here?
Yeah, let's not get carried away. That's how I'll end it. Like, it's been a bad night at the office. Do you know what it's like waiting all weekend as well until Monday night for that? Like,
long weekend.
That just hurts. I was really looking forward to it, and but it is only the second game. We've still got, luckily we did get 3 points in that Wolves game. Norwich next, and let's just hope for a better performance in that. That's all I can say, really.
Yeah, let's hope so. And so again, thank you all everybody for watching. Just a quick plug before we go. Beyond the 90 Women has been nominated, as you might have seen on the Twitter, for, again, I've not managed to link in the description because I've been too depressed after that match. But if you go to our Twitter, you'll be able to see we've been nominated for Beyond the 90 Women for the Football Awards. And so thank you everybody that's voted. And if you could vote for us, that would be insane. Like, I didn't even expect to get this far. So thank you so much. But if you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Make sure to follow Tom's channel. Again, Fox the Fantasy on YouTube. Follow all these people in the description down below as well. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. We'll see you in the next video where I'll be a little bit more happier, I promise. Goodbye.